Everyone, it's LS, and this is going to be another Speed VOD review. This time we have Cloud9 versus Vitality. It was voted upon by Twitch chat. So let's see. Let's get this in here. And Cloud9 starting off with the Tom Kench and Aurelia bans. Team Vitality going with Aatrox and Urgot. And LeBlanc now being banned away by Cloud9 as well. And I do have to say that the most impressive player for me has, I can't say his name, Jizuki, I don't know how to say it. Anyways, Alistar being banned away by Team Vitality, so I guess Cloud9 is not going to go for the first pick there. When they pick the Xayah, it might try to induce a Rakan pick by Team Vitality. And that's actually not what's going to happen. So Cloud9 actually gets a hold of Jakan. If they actually want it. Thresh and Draven are picked up for Team Vitality, so that is a very powerful kill lane. I like the fact that Cloud9 is actually hovering and locking in Shen. I think that plays against directly what Draven wants to do. And Nocturne now actually being hovered and locked in for Cloud9. That's actually a very good pick, I think, against Draven. Even though there is Step Aside and there is a Thresh to help get him out of trouble, I think that the Nocturne-Shen combo is really, really good. It almost looks like Nocturne is actually what, Shen is if he takes off the mask. But anyways, one of the... okay, they already banned it. I can't predict it. I was going to say that maybe by not picking Rakan right now, they can actually steal away a ban from Vitality going into the second ban phase. Okay. And so Arise being banned away by Cloud9, and Galio is the last ban for Team Vitality. I do think that Galio would be really scary here. So I do like that they banned it away. And it's going to be Sion versus Shen up in top. I'm very doubtful that that's going to be a mid Sion. Don't know why Vitality is locking in Trundle. I don't think Trundle actually does anything against Cloud9's team composition. It actually seems anti-synergistic with what Vitality is trying to accomplish. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Also, isn't there anti-synergy with Sion and Trundle? Can't Sion actually run into Trundle's wall in the event that they want to do something? And wow, Cloud9's actually getting access to Zilean. And I think this is a perfect pick against what Vitality has thus far. There are champions that still... like, Syndra versus Zilean is actually fine. If you really know how to play the matchup, Syndra can beat Zilean. The key to doing it is to almost kill him. You have to try to kill him when he's like at 10% away from lethal, and then you try to kill him. So that's how you play the matchup. So Syndra is actually a very real pick that we could have seen here. It does look like Vitality is actually going to go with Echo. I do think Echo is actually quite a bad pick. And I think that Echo does not... I think that these two picks are absolutely terrible. I think that it was Vitality as well that really dropped the ball in the second pick ban phase against another team this tournament. It just looked like, what the fuck are you doing? I think that the Singed and the Zilean is fantastic against this team composition. So it does look like it's going to be a Shen support and then a Singed top lane. So after they do the swaps, we'll just talk about everything. Okay, so now let's talk about the junglers. So Singed is actually able to be self-sustaining and efficient, and against this team composition, he doesn't slow down, which is really, really good. So they get a check mark there. Nocturne does slow down, but because all that you really have to do is delete one of the members on Vitality, he doesn't slow down. So I'm going to give him like one of those squiggles that I've done where he doesn't slow down, he doesn't get an X, but he also doesn't get a check mark. Zilean does not slow down against this team composition. Xayah does not slow down against this team composition. Shen does slow down against this team composition, so I'm not going to do anything for Shen. On the flip side, though, Echo doesn't slow down, Draven does slow down, Trundle slows down, Sion slows down, and then Thresh obviously slows down. So pound for pound, I think that the team compositions are inherently weaker. And if you don't know what I mean by slow down, I mean at what point in the game does their gold start being less efficient than the opponent's? And there is a breaking point on items for these champions where their items start becoming less valuable than the opposing team's roll for roll. With that being said, one of the benefits that Nocturne has is that both his mid laner and his top laner is self-sustaining. And also it's a blue side Nocturne, which means that his Wraith's camp and his Golem's camp, which are the two most valuable, is inside of the red side jungle, which is in close proximity to mid lane and bottom lane. So now, with this being said, he no longer has to path up to Gromp, which isn't as efficient, and and Svenskeren could actually just go constantly like this inside of his own red side jungle because he has such strong mid and top laners that don't need his assistance. So now the pressure is actually on Vitality because Trundle has to make something happen. The difficulty is trying to make something happen against Zilean in mid lane because it's going to be very awkward to coordinate ganks there. And if you do coordinate ganks, you actually create a very large proximity between yourself and the golem camp, and it makes it very awkward to actually turn around and do routes and paths. The other problem is trying to gank Licorice up in top lane if you're coming from the golem camp is also awkward because it's going to be a very long-rooted gank. So Cabashard and Trundle are going to have very awkward gank setup, and then also in mid lane, the Trundle and the Echo synergy is just really lacking. So there's enormous amounts of pressure on the Trundle. Down in bottom lane, that's really the only lane where they're going to be able to have any success. And so one of the things that Trundle could try to do is he could try to play some sort of a style with Echo to have pressure around mid lane and then do aggressive invades into the Wraith camp of Svenskeren and then try to create pressure and allow Attila to have basically free reign down in bottom lane so that Draven can accelerate really far ahead, get opened up, move into the top lane, put pressure on Licorice and then stunt his growth and then try to blitz around the map and do stuff like that, which inadvertently applies pressure to Svenskeren as well. And then they definitely... Vitality needs Rift Herald. If they don't get Rift Herald, they will never get the mid-tier 1 turret down, or at least I don't see a world in which they can actually get the mid-tier 1 turret down. If this game is even at 15 minutes, and what I mean by that is like if the gold scores are even, Cloud9 is massively ahead. So Vitality is a team that is looking for a multi-K gold lead at around the 10-12 minute mark, 15 minute mark, and then again around the 20 minute mark. And anything after about 25 to 27 minutes, Cloud9 is just going to take over, and even if the gold deficit is something like plus 5k for Team Vitality, it likely just means that it's an even or a slightly behind game for Team Vitality. So that's what we're looking for going into the game. Okay. And we're just waiting for the game to start. Yes, they're slightly behind with even a 5k gold lead if it gets to 25, 27 minutes. Infernal Drake, first dragon of the game. Actually, very important for both parties. Very important for that Echo and the Draven. Equally important for the Nocturne, Zilean, and... What? That's really cute. I've always theorized about doing something like this with Tom Kench, flashing over the wall with someone in your belly, and then using the W, because if you're behind them with Exhaust or something, you're going to be able to get the 3 procs and use W even if they do end up flashing in most cases. So I think that's actually a really interesting route. Wow, Svenskeren's really far behind. I don't know why he came into his red side jungle. And all that Kiki's actually has to do right now is monkey onto him. And I think that's actually what he's doing. So Sven is really far behind. This is really good. I love what he's doing. Now he's pathing immediately into the Scuttle Crab, and he's just looking for Nocturne. And the reason that this is so good, even though Wolfcamp and Scuttle both give Nocturne level 2, because Trundle is so far ahead, and again, he needs to accelerate his top and mid lane, if he can pulverize Svenskeren and really mess up and skew with his jungle, it goes against what Sven would have liked to have done. So I think that what we might have seen was something like this. If Trundle, we would have seen this as Nocturne's route. So we would have seen red Wraiths, Wolves, Scuttle, Wraparound, Gromp, Blue, Recall, Golems, Rubber Banded Camp, Wraiths into Wolves, Gromp. I think that likely would have been the Nocturne route due to the dynamic of top and mid lane. And I like how Kiki's is acknowledging that if Svenskeren has that type of stability inside of his jungle, and it's going to be extremely impossible or almost unlikely that he's going to be able to create any pressure in top and mid lane, he's basically saying, okay, we're just going to both be removed from the game. If Trundle's level 4, like, so if Kiki's level 4 and Nocturne's level 4, and the laners are all like level 6 and 7 and shit, this is more beneficial for Vitality's team than it is for Cloud9, because Cloud9 benefits more from the jungler being even, like Nocturne level 6 and then Trundle level 6, than obviously Vitality. So the fact that Kiki's is trying to play an extremely low economy game is the most intelligent decision. Oh wow, he's really messing him up. Licorice is now here as well. Flash coming out of Nocturne. And it almost looks like Jensen's actually going to get a solo kill. I think, yeah, it's over. That's, wow. Okay. Really, really, really bad for Vitality. Not something that they want to be having happen. And Attila actually gets a kill there. And that's not... So, even though Jensen salvages a kill in mid lane, the issue is that a Zilean that gets an advantage is almost virtually no different with these team comps than a Zilean that's just even. So if there's a Zilean at 10 minutes that just has 100 CS and Echo has 100 CS, it's almost no different than a Zilean at 10 minutes with 100 CS and 3 kills. And the reason that I say this is sometimes I talk about this with Ryze traditionally, is the champion is so dependent on other factors that don't just pertain to himself. If a Syndra has 3 kills and she's even in CS at 10 minutes, she can walk up to champions and press, QER and then kill them. Zilean is still going to conduct himself in the same manner, and he's still limited to a degree by his teammates and by the positioning of the enemy team in order to make use of his advantage. The other problem that Zilean has is that he has wind-ups inside of his build, and I'm not talking about like a mechanic. I'm talking about he has a dependency on having certain items, and he has to get to those points in order to be relevant, and so he's sort of gated by a side quest very similar to what Ryze is. And you can see there Echo. Really, really, really unfortunate. Really good by Jensen to pick up the kill. And then obviously Vitality bit back. And the one thing, so even though it looks like it was really good for Cloud9, I think that the damage that was done across the map and the fact that Draven ended up getting a kill was better for Vitality. So I think that Vitality is actually quite far ahead right now because of how stunted Nocturne is. And Vitality now down in bottom lane. And this is what they need to be doing. They need to put Sneaky behind because you're not really going to find too much success anywhere else. Did Cabochard just cancel his teleport? Whoa, what just happened? Oh! Wait, does Singe's thing stop teleport? Oh, that's so gross. Oh my god, Vitality would have just won the game. Oh, Vitality would have just won. This is game ending. No, I didn't know that. Of course I didn't know that. I'm a fucking coach. I'm a coach by the way. Okay? This was game ending. Coach, by the way. Oh wow, Vitality is starting to play so reckless. They're starting to invest into things that are extremely coin flippy, and it seems like Cloud9 is just balancing it. And Zilean's here now as well, and so they're able to actually make use of Jensen, which they should not be able to. Vitality's just getting way too aggressive and over-eager to invest into these, like, pseudo-objectives. And I'm going to call red and blue right now pseudo-objective because it's not the stage of the game where it's a primary objective. Like, stealing away a blue from Jensen right now would be, I think, considered an objective because of how impactful it could be to the mid lane dynamic, but anything beyond that, no. Yeah, Vitality does look like they're tilting. And we saw this from Kiki's, or Kikis, I don't know how to say his name. Like, come on. Terrible branding. I saw this from Trundle when he was on Kindred in a previous game. Where he started off very, very, very strong. and then it just all went to shit. And I'm seeing the same exact pattern happen here. So I really have to wonder if just their early game is so mapped out, but then he really doesn't understand what priority is relative to the lanes, and that would suggest a dilemma with player knowledge pertaining to his laners rather than himself, where for the first levels 1 through 4, we've seen multiple times now he's eviscerated his enemy jungler. He's completely destroyed the opposition. But then after that, where it starts becoming a factor of entertaining yourself in synergy with your top laner, mid laner, or bottom laner, it doesn't seem like he can factor in those variables to alter or, come up with his own jungle route that is going to be beneficial for those variables. And so, with that being said, we're seeing the same exact pattern happen here in this game. Hold on, Twitch chat, hold on. So, Vitality's gonna get Infernal Drake. You guys are saying that my ID is bad branding. I will have you know that I tried to buy LS on Twitter, and the girl that owned it or something told me to kick rocks, and I offered her 1K. Okay? This was 4 years ago, I tried to buy LS. She just had @LS, and now we've lost it. We've lost the opportunity to get LS. You can't even get it anymore. I think because you can't have 2-letter handles. Yeah, you can't have 2-letter handles. Thanks a lot. Fucking dunce. God damn it. I can't even get it now. Alright, back into the game. Alright. So Vitality actually picked up an Infernal Drake, which is really, really, really good for their team composition. Wow. Well, Cloud9 is actually getting hit pretty hard. They get the flash out of Echo. And you can see that Cabochard's still up in top lane. He's not able to actually do anything. But let's rewind. So right here, they pull out Zeyzal. They get the kill. And then you see that, in this spot, I think that this is really poor. I think that, right here, I don't think that Trundle needs to be hugging Echo. I don't think that he needs to be hugging Echo at all. I think that Trundle actually could have just been further back and they could have kited. And then if it reached a point where someone was going to die, they could have just thrown in a sacrificial lamb. You see these slight movements, watch Thresh. Watch Thresh. See this? He turned around. That's already 100 range, right? Look. See this? He's moving to the left. Why? Then he turns around. These slight things are so important when you factor in that they have flashes. They don't need to all die here. So this is Vitality just being very reckless. Now, Cabochard does get 2 waves over Licorice during all of this. Licorice now swaps to Ghost on the Singed. Yeah, I think this is very, very sloppy, the way that they disengage this. I think their disengagement here is really, really, really poor. Really good double bomb by Jensen. And so immediately after all of this happens, everyone's recalling. And Vitality is about even. If they didn't have the Infernal, they would be behind. But right now, I do think that they are even at this stage of the game. The game is still anyone's to take. So now Cloud9 acknowledges that they're behind on tempo. They rotate to top lane. And also their top tier 1 turret is almost going to fall. And Attila is now down here in bottom. So what I would like to see them do at this point is Cabochard's going to be able to hold the turret. I think that, yes, rotate 3 members down, get the bottom tier 2 turret, have Echo hold mid. You're going to give up Herald. Echo CS's the wave, and then eventually what's going to end up happening most likely is Nocturne's going to take the Herald, hand off the blue to Zillion, and then there's going to be a temporary downtime. And then after this, you recall Draven into mid lane. And the reason that you recall Draven into mid lane is because you don't want to give Cloud9 the opportunity to utilize the Herald mid lane, because keeping your mid lane tier 1 turret alive is really good. And even if they use the Herald in top lane, you're going to be able to then permafreeze the lane right here, and then you're going to also be able to give Draven the red buff. So I think that's what Vitality should be able to do. Yes, this is good. So it looks like Nocturne's actually summoning Herald top, and I think that's actually a very, very poor choice by Cloud9. They're going to be able to get this turret, and they're going to try to push on for the tier 2, but they should not be able to actually get the tier 2. So this Herald is actually really, really, really fucking bad. I don't know what Cabochard's doing. Take a look at this. So his ult, not really able to do too much. And then right there, Echo is trying to get some value, but doesn't really get too much. So I think that Cabochard's ultimate was actually really poor. I think it was completely unnecessary, because even prior to all of Vitality showing up, you can already see that Sion's ultimate is not necessary towards defending this turret. So I think at this point, Sion should already just start pathing into mid lane, or you let Echo path into mid lane and Sion just eats this, and then top turret goes to half HP. And then as this is going on, you have Draven eventually recall in bottom lane, and then Draven goes into mid lane. Draven goes into mid lane, shoves out one wave, Draven then paths into his red, gets the red, comes up into top lane, eats the wave, takes that wave, and the next wave crashes it into top tier 2, or top tier 1, takes top tier 1, backs up, recalls, Draven then goes into mid lane, while Echo rotates into bottom lane to catch the wave that's going to pile up in front of the bottom tier 1 turret. Yeah, I know he got Sneaky's flash, but it's not as important as the tempo control that Vitality is trying to establish. Having Sneaky's flash in a game time where there's no neutral objectives up anymore is almost irrelevant. Because you can't guarantee that Cloud9 has to handshake fights with you, especially because you're the acceleration team that is actually dependent on fighting at this exact point in time. Cloud9 should acknowledge that you're dependent on fighting, and they should intentionally try to slow down the game for a little bit, especially because they have some breathing room knowing that an Ocean Drake is coming up next, and that's an absolutely fucking terrible dragon at this point in the game. And you can see right now that nothing's really being accomplished. It's basically just Vitality is endlessly shoving waves into mid. And you can see that they get a little bit of chip damage, but this is why Sneaky's flash doesn't matter. It's because Cloud9, so like right here, right? Licorice doesn't have to CS this right here. He doesn't. He can let this wave come up, and then Cabochard has to come up. Okay? So if Cabochard comes up, and then this wave is stockpiling, and then the incoming reinforcing wave from Vitality comes up, then Licorice just CS the wave in front of his turret. And Vitality has to invest more resources in gold in order to make sure that Cabochard's safe. Although in this situation, not really, because it's Sion, so we can just ult out away. But it's important to talk about fundamentals of map positioning and why certain stuff can be disadvantageous and advantageous towards, you know, respective teams. So right now, Vitality doesn't have a means to actually force any damage onto a turret. And this is why I'm talking about Sneaky's flash being irrelevant. Because if Cloud9 recognizes what Vitality... We talk about this in all the VOD reviews, right? What does Cloud9 want right now? Cloud9 wants, you know, mid-tier 1, they want bottom tier 1, but most importantly, they ideally want to scale, right? So what does Vitality need, right? I talk about this all the time, wants versus needs, because most teams at the professional level, they play to what they want to do rather than playing against what the enemy team needs. What does Cloud9 need? Cloud9 needs to scale, right? Now, unfortunately, this is something that is very difficult for Vitality to answer to. Vitality needs fights, right? They need team fights. They need kills, right? They need better dragons, right? So the problem here is that Cloud9 should recognize that, okay, they need fights, we're not going to give it to them. They need kills, we're not going to give it to them. They need better dragons. That's going to take time. So as long as they realize that, yes, scaling is a part of their wants, and, you know, they want to take a, you know, they want mid-tier 1, they want top-tier 1, they don't actually need these two things in order to do the third thing, which is both a need and a want. They should want to scale, they need to scale, because that's how they inevitably will win out against Vitality. So by playing against what Vitality needs, they don't have to do what they want in order to win. Dargans, you like that? mouse writing. They need to hold the fort. That's what's going on here. I don't like what Jensen's doing. He is constantly pushing the lane back immediately. I think that that's actually a very poor decision, especially because you have absolute information right now on Vitality. You can also see that Vitality is forced to invest more into wards in order to control the map, which you factor that into their gold advantage and then you subtract it. I don't... What? 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 Wait. I know that he's coming for them, but the reality is that for him to die this way requires more people to come down, which then means that Attila and Jack Troll can get more pressure up here. Echo has more time up here. So even though Scion's going to die, it takes more time going this way, and it takes more members. Like, okay, so when I say more time, obviously ulting into the base, it's going to take Licorice a while to get to him and then eventually kill him. The problem is that if he goes this way, he potentially gives Cloud9 a chance to make more mistakes and invest more resources into trying to kill him. Yeah, I really, really don't like what Vitality's doing. You can see that they're trying to force the issue just way too hard. And there's no way. They don't have the ammo to break mid-tier 1. And this is a fundamental problem of their team composition. And it's also because they were a little bit too reckless early on, and they weren't able to accelerate Draven quick enough. And it all, like, this is one of those really scary things with these team compositions that spike at one item. Is that after that first item comes away, you know, you have to really have made sure that, like, yes, you need Rift Herald. We talked about how Vitality needed Rift Herald in order to crack that mid-tier 1 turret against the Zillion. Because if you don't have it, and it's just not available on the map and you end up getting shit dragons, you're just going to be in a world of pain. Because your split pushers actually can't keep up as reliably as Singed and Zillion in the later stages. And so even though Draven was doing very good early on, those small blunders that they took in those small skirmishes just set them back so far, and they couldn't ever regain tempo. And this is why I talked about, like in top lane, when the Herald was being used on top tier 2. This was a pretty big mistake by Cloud9, but it wasn't punished effectively by Vitality. And you saw that Cabochard committed with his ultimate, and this caused a delay in responding to mid lane. It causes an inadvertent delay in responding to bottom lane and whatnot. It's really not good. Oh, wow. Now Cloud9 can actually just take their victory, they can back off, they can clear out vision, and this is all that they have to do. Because the onus is on Vitality to make something happen, and they're not going to be able to. Look at it. They can't get into mid. It's all over them. It is a fundamental problem with their team composition when it gets to this stage. This is why I talked about, at 25 minutes, right? Let's say hypothetically, 25 minutes, Vitality has a 5k gold lead. They're still fucking behind, even with a 5,000 gold lead. Their champions are just not as effective with gold as Cloud9's in the 5v5, the 3v3, the 4v4. Trundle pick was absolutely terrible. Trundle pick made 0 sense. Vitality dropped the ball in the second part of the draft yet again. Makes no sense whatsoever. So even though Cloud9's doing something I really hate, which is they keep unlocking waves that they don't have to, because we've already seen that Vitality is incapable of penetrating any of the lanes, right? Even if the lanes get pushed up into a tier 2 turret or something, it doesn't matter, because Vitality doesn't have the ammo to just suddenly start a Baron. I don't like how Cloud9 keeps unlocking waves so prematurely. They don't need to do it. I think this is actually one of the next major advancements that teams around the world globally will maybe start doing in coming years, because it's getting really sickening to see people not utilizing freezes or slow pushes to the degree that they should be getting used. Cloud9 should not have taken the Ocean Drake. Taking the Ocean Dragon is actually really, really bad. Because they're ahead, they should not take the Ocean Dragon. Cloud9 comes and stops. So right here. Don't CS it right away. Don't do it. Now, it's Cloud9, and I've talked about this in so many World VODs. He's going to throw 2 fucking bombs, and he's going to CS it, because he doesn't know how to spell League of Legends in this particular instance. So what's happening here is, let's go into Fog of War, okay, for Vitality. This is what you see. You see this, all right? You see this, and it's pretty much it, right? You see this. This is all that you see if you're Vitality, okay? All you get. So you come off Fountain, and you look at top lane, and all of a sudden there's a fucking zillion last hitting with auto attacks. What's the plan? You're not just going to arbitrarily be like, oh, okay, we go bottom. That's too long. That'll take you 2 minutes just to get in position when you factor in your minion waves. You can't do anything, right? You're not going to go mid. There's no minions. Even if you go mid with minions, they're just gonna wave clear it. So you're already it's already going to take you a minute and a half to do anything in mid. You're not going to drop everything and then go like this. That's not possible. Because now you have to invest more resources with control wards. So you're going to go minus 75. Enemy team's going to go plus 30. Because they have to invest less, but they also get a plus for killing your control ward. So this ends up creating net gains in the top for Cloud9. Okay? You can't just go to Baron. We've already seen that Vitality doesn't actually have the ammo. So what do you do coming off your recall if Jensen auto-attacks this? There's nothing to fucking do. Absolutely nothing. So what ends up happening is the same exact thing I talked about in the last VOD review with Cloud9 versus RNG. You end up creating this massive net gain in gold and experience. And the fact that it's on a zillion is even more painful because of his passive. You end up creating this massive advantage for Cloud9, and you're creating this stranglehold against a team that needs to fight. And you're removing an entire lane. You're deleting a lane from the map against a team that needs to fight. And there's no neutral objective up. So, yeah, there it is. I'm gonna fucking kill myself, jeez. Oh, God. Son of a bitch. Oh, my God. I'm not obsessing over it way too much. Obsessing over the finer details of a game is exactly what separates people at this level. What separates Licorice from Cabochard? Right? On a point scale, right? 100 being a perfect scripter, and then, you know, maybe Cabochard's like 91, right? If we just say that Licorice is 94, this is only a 3-point difference, right? But it's massive. Getting these 3-point difference at this level of play, at the world-class level, is so difficult, right? It's like losing weight, right? It's a lot easier to lose 10 pounds or, you know, 5 kilos or something if you're massively overweight than it is for a person of normal body size to lose 10 pounds. It's so difficult. So getting these 3 points is so big. So when you tell me that obsessing over this type of a freeze is pointless, you tell me you don't know anything about actual high-level gameplay. You don't understand. You don't understand a fucking thing. You know, you see people do trading card game reviews, and they talk about why they talk about why cards are broken, and you just fail to see what it does in the big picture. You just can't even entertain it. You have no concept of absolute highest level pinnacle play. You just don't know. No, there's no team that I've seen ever do the freeze. But that's not an argument against it. You can't say that because you don't see a team do the freeze that it suddenly makes it bad simply because I'm suggesting it. You have to tell me removing teams, removing emotions, etc., why the freeze would somehow be bad. In this exact scenario, I gave you Vitality's vision, and then I asked to be proposed a situation in which Vitality can do something against it. There's not one. You can't make these champions do more damage than they do. I mean, I've seen the freeze sometimes in competitive games, but people don't do it enough, and I think that even when they do it, I don't think that they're being conscientious of why they're doing it. And so because you're not being conscious of it, then you can't manipulate it for your own gain. Vitality can't just... All right, so someone in Twitch chat is saying Vitality can brute force into another lane. So I just talked about this, and this is why I said I don't like you changing variables. Right? So let's talk about this. Where's the freeze? Wait, where's the freeze? Ah, shit. Wait, where's the game timer? Okay, right here, right? Okay, you factor in the 8 seconds mandatory recalls, right? You factor in the minion movement speed. They cannot just brute force a lane. It's not possible. You cannot alter the rules of the game. You can't go into it. You cannot make minions deal more damage. You cannot make Draven have 3 or 4 items when he only has 2. You cannot make Echo have 5. You can't do it. God. All right, let's go ahead. Someone's saying, don't you lose tempo by freezing? No, you gain tempo by freezing. Because you force the enemy to react even faster. And you're the team that's scaling. So if you're the team that's scaling, you benefit more just by being defensive and staying back. And you can see right now that Vitality is basically panicking. They end up getting a kill right there onto Sneaky and Zazel. And they only actually end up losing a Thresh support, but I still don't think that they can actually take the Baron because Zillion's just way too strong. Zillion's way too strong. Yeah. They have no answer to Zillion. Cabochard's going to end up going down now. And Svenskaren now coming up into top lane. He should not try to CS any of these minions, and he does. But it looks like instead of actually CSing it, Jensen was there too. I just couldn't see Jensen following him. I wasn't paying attention to Jensen following him on the minimap, and then it went Fog of War, so I didn't know. I thought Nocturne was just CSing it, and then I saw Zillion appear. So getting the kill onto Echo is quite big, but it's not like the biggest kill in the world because Echo does have teleport. Although maybe Vitality can't stop it. This is an excellent Baron bait. Vitality does not have sufficient means to approach the Baron pit, and it's so dangerous against Zillion Z and his Q. And so with that being said, when the rest of the Vitality members go down, it's guaranteed to be Baron. And at this point in the game, the gold advantage right now for Cloud9 is only about 7 or 8k, but it's likely to be comparable to like a 15k gold lead, just because of how poor the Vitality team composition is compared to Cloud9's. And that was a really good play by Echo, getting a snipe. And they're actually going to be able to bring down a kill on Jensen. And so it closes the gold gap by a little bit, so it's only about a 5 or a 6k gold lead. You do also have to factor in the Infernal Drake. The problem is that even though Vitality is going to get a little bit of tempo right now, and they're likely going to be... I don't know what Sneaky was doing. Sneaky was trying to kill golems, but I think that's kind of poor. If Sneaky already knew that he was going to die, he should have just suicided to get more minions or just keep running away. And that likely would have been a better choice. So even though Vitality is going to get some turrets, this doesn't change the situation that they're in right now. They're going to get this turret guaranteed. They're not going to be able to actually get an inhibitor because they just don't have, again, the ammo to get the inhibitor. Echo is never going to be able to get onto that turret with his Lich Bane. Licorice is already starting the split push again, back up in top lane, and they're going to be able to pick up a Mountain Drake, which is actually really, really, really good for them. And this also goes against like why I didn't want Cloud9 to take up Ocean. When you're ahead, unless the dragon is a mountain or an infernal, there's almost never a situation where you should probably take an Ocean or a Cloud when your team composition's ahead. And again, I have to make like an LS Logic video talking about this because it has to do with similar thought processes in poker and probability, and not probability on like spawns or whatever, but similar things. Okay. Team fight now happening in mid, NA hitting him with the NARAM, and they're just so far ahead it does not seem to matter. Zillion still has ultimate available, so this is likely just going to be the end of the game. Whoa! Sven got solo, but he has GA, so it doesn't even matter. Yeah, that's the end of the game. Okay, so Cloud9, they found themselves with another really big draft win, and I'm not sure what order these games happened. Again, I wasn't watching this live, I was asleep, so I don't know if Cloud9 already beat RNG or what the deal is, but this was another game where Cloud9's goal was to resist the enemy team composition, and they didn't really have to do too much. The credit that I will give them, though, is that they did play clean. However, still missed punishes that were available. They did take a dragon that was really poor. Licorice played really, really well. I think that Jensen played really, really well as well. Overall, again, it was another clean, stable, solid game. But the enemy team composition, just like in the RNG game, it fell apart on top of itself. So we're gonna go into. I'm curious to see what happens in the Cloud9 versus RNG rematch, and so we're gonna go into that soon.